But Adonai was angry with me because of you, so he would not listen to me. Enough, Adonai said to me. Do not speak to me any more about this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah, look around to the west and to the north and to the south and to the east, and see with your eyes, for you will not cross over this Jordan. But commission Joshua, and encourage and strengthen him, for he will cross over before this people, and he will enable them to inherit the land that you will see. So we stayed in the valley opposite Beth Peor.
And if you remember, then Beth Peor is where they got in all that trouble with the whoredoms with the prostitutes of Baal. You know, that they entered into the Balaam worship, and there was great slaughter from Almighty Yahweh because of it. And Moshe is talking about here that because he refused to give Almighty Yahweh glory at the waters of Meribah, that he was refused to go in, that he could not go into the promised land. And I always bring this up to people when they seem to minimize the consequences of not obeying the commandments of Yahweh and not giving glory and honor to him. And when you refuse to walk in his commands, you are refusing to give him glory and honor, because he has the authority, the creator of all heaven and earth, the one who created you, to give you instructions on how you are to walk. So if we understand that, then we understand when we refuse to walk as he has instructed and commanded us to walk, that we are defying his authority. It's like, when you have a 4 or 5 year old just stand and refuse to obey you when you tell them to do something, you stand defiantly in your face. That's the picture I see whenever we refuse to walk in his commandments, that we are just standing and looking in the Father's face and refusing to obey him. People, that's serious. That is serious. My mother and dad taught me early how serious that was. You didn't dare stand and defy them or disobey them. There were consequences coming right shortly thereafter. We need to know that there are consequences coming. There are consequences to sin. The concept or idea that has been taught through modern Christianity, that all of our sins are done away with, past, present, and future, and there's no consequences to sin. There are consequences to sin. Moshe was forgiven of his sin, but it still kept him from going into the promised land. He was not allowed to go in. And what did he do? Must we bring water from this rock for you? And that's what he said to him. Must we bring water from this rock for you? Refuse to give glory to Almighty Yahweh. And it was probably something that he just got caught up in his anger and neglected to do. But it was still a transgression before the Father. And he kept him from going into the promised land. Anybody? Go ahead, Ray.
I like here in verse 24, You know, this is a man who has seen the burning bush. He's been there through all the plagues upon Mitzrayim. He's seen, well, I don't want to say he's been an instrument, but he's the instrument that the Father worked through when he raised his rod over the sea and it parted. He's seen the manna, he's seen the quail. He has seen every miracle that Yahweh has performed. And here in 24, he says, you have begun to show your servant your greatness.
Yeah.
He recognizes how much more greatness there is than what he's seen. You have begun to show.
Yes.
As much as we've seen and as much as we've read of the power and the majesty and the glory of Yahweh, we've only begun to see the greatness. There's a lot more to come.
And I think if we attained all we could attain here on this earth, it would still be just the beginning. We don't have any concept of what it's going to be like when we finish this race. We don't have any concept. It's like we talked about last night. You know, when he comes, we know not what we shall appear, but we shall be like him. You know, and that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that day. I'm looking forward to that day when all the deficiencies, the pain, and this, that, and the other of the body falls off, and we are walking in perfection with him. That's what I'm looking forward to. Mary?
I think it's interesting, as great a man as Moses was, verse 26, and then in the next chapter, he says, because of you. It's not because of them. He chose to react in the way he did that made the Father angry in him. Even though the people were doing all the bad stuff that they were doing, he could have reacted differently and still gone in. But he didn't, and so it was his own fault that he's not getting to go into the promised land. It's not actually the people's fault, and it's so typical of us to blame other people for our problems, and it's not other people. 99.9% of the time, it's us. It's our own attitude, it's our own actions, it's us.
Well, I think what he was doing here was placing the blame on them for the cause of his rage, rather than taking responsibility for his rage. You know, and I think that's what we do many times. We look and try to justify ourselves by looking at the cause of our offense rather than the offense itself. And I think when he said because of you, it's because he was angered at them whenever he went at the waters of Meribah. He was angered at them, and he said, must we bring this water from this rock? He was angered and didn't think before he spoke, I think. You know, I'm not sure, but we see that in 26, the Father didn't cut him any slack. He said, it's enough. Don't speak to me anymore about this. You're not going in. I've already said it. You're not going in. Don't talk to me no more about it. So yes, I think there was a tendency to excuse itself by saying, hey, it's your fault that I didn't get to go in. It's your fault that I got angry. It's your fault that I let my mouth get away from it. How many times do we try to put the blame on the cause of our action rather than our action? And I think this is what's happening here. Anybody? Go ahead.
Check. Yep, nope, it's not working. Okay, there we go. I think with all that's been said, there's one thing that the Father does for us that if we're paying attention and looking and listening, He always gives us hope at the end of it. He knows we're flawed. He knows that we're weak, that we make mistakes, that we take things personally when it had nothing to do with us. You know, like in Moses' case, you know, people were complaining against him, but they weren't. They were complaining against the Almighty. So then the Father says, hey, go up the top of this hill and look all around, not just across the Jordan, but all around. And He's given us the glimpse of the future kingdom, you know, the future land, the inheritance that, you know, of course, is later laid out for us, you know, with boundaries and borders. And here's Moshe, you know, in the middle of it. And I think Moshe got that. So that by the time he gets done with this long day, then he can rest. You know, knowing that, oh, okay, I'm going to wake up again and get to experience this, even though I'm not able to do it right here and now.
Anybody? I think it's awesome that by His word we get a glimpse of what glory is going to be like. But it would be real bad to be able to see it and not go in. And I think that's the picture that's being painted here. That Moses saw it, but he wasn't allowed to go in. He saw all the beauty of the land that the Father had given to the Israel, but he wasn't allowed to go in. And I think it would be horrible to see all the beauty and glory of eternity and not be able to go in. But I'm afraid, according to the word, there's going to be many that's not going to be able to go in. Anybody, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
I think as you were touching on Yah's response in verse 26, he says, like, he's done with it. I think there's a good lesson to learn that just comparing Yah's response here with Abram and when he brings up about Sodom and Gomorrah, because the Father says, I'm going to destroy it. And Abram said, or Abraham, I can't remember what he is at that moment, says, how be it from you to do this? And he has a discussion with the Father. And so I think that there are times that the Father has said, I've said it, it's there, it's done. Like, enough, Moses, you're not getting in. But then there are other times that we see, like with Abraham, where he has that discussion with the Father. So not to say that the Father is pliable, because that's what all the other gods in all of history are. Let me pay this sacrifice, and now it will do something for me. And that's not what the Father is. But to also see that he's not always what we would say harsh, maybe, or strict, nor is he always pliable. So, but he has a measure of his, his mercy in that. You know, that he had mercy to show Moses to see the promised land from the mountain. He had mercy to say, one, that would be heart-wrenching to be like, oh, there it is and I can't go in. But also to see, wow, I know eternally I'm going to be with you. And I know your people, you are now bringing your people in, even though it's not me. I would imagine maybe Moses got to that point. But to know, sometimes it's a strict, no, I've said it, and there is no wavering. And sometimes there is that discussion like Abraham. And so to really seek the Father and plead with the Father and wonder, circumstance by circumstance, not that he'll ever change his word, but that.
Let me point out there was one difference there. Moshe was pleading with the Father for himself.
Yeah,
Abraham was pleading for the Father for others.
that's good.
There's a difference in intercession for others and for your own self-motive. I think there's a difference there. That intercession, that there are, to me, so many points in the Word that point out the importance of interceding for others, to make intercession. And the situation with Abraham, Lot, and Sodom and Gomorrah are part of it. And I've been to Sodom and Gomorrah, and I have seen it, and it is just piles of ash. You can see that there were structures. The ashes are standing still in structures, and you can pick up clunks. It looks like glass, and you break it open, and there's a little ball of sulfur inside it. And Richard Reeves has had that sulfur tested and said that there is no sulfur on earth as pure as that sulfur is. We don't have anything as pure as that sulfur is. But there's truth, evidence that exactly what said happened in Sodom and Gomorrah happened. It is ironclad evidence. And you can see that the ash and all the that remains there is still resembling structures. It's like buildings. So obviously, and you just touch it and it just falls apart. It's just ash. Anybody? All right. Let's go on to verse chapter 4.
Now, Israel, listen to the statutes and ordinances that I am teaching you to do, so that you may live and go in and possess the land that Adonai, the God of your fathers, is giving you. You must not add to the word that I am commanding you, or take away from it, in order to keep the mitzvot of Adonai your God, that I am commanding you. Your eyes have seen what Adonai did at Baal Peor, for Adonai your God has destroyed from among you everyone who followed Baal Peor. But you who held tight to Adonai your God are alive today, all of you. See, just as Adonai my God commanded me, I have taught you statutes and ordinances to do in the land that you are about to enter to possess. You must keep and do them, for it is your wisdom and understanding in the eyes of the peoples, who will hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has gods so near to them as Adonai our God is whenever we call on him? What great nation is there that has statutes and ordinances that are righteous, like all of this Torah that I am setting before you today? Only be watchful and watch over your souls closely, so you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, and they slip from your heart all the days of your life. You are to make them known to your children and your children's children. The day that you stood before Adonai your God in Horeb, Adonai said to me, gather the peoples to me, and I will make them hear my words, so that they learn to fear me all the days that they live on the earth, and so that they teach their children. You came near and stood at the bottom of the mountain while the mountain was blazing with fire up to the heart of the heavens, darkness, cloud, and fog. Adonai spoke to you from the midst of the fire. The sound of words you heard, but a form you did not see, only a voice. He declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to do, the 10 words, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. Adonai commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and ordinances, so that you might do them in the land you are crossing over to possess. So be very watchful over your souls, since you saw no form on the day that Adonai spoke to you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, so that you do not act corruptly and make yourselves a graven image in the likeness of any figure, the form of a male or female, the form of any animal that is on the earth, the form of any winged bird that flies in the sky, the form of anything that creeps on the ground, the form of any fish that is in the water under the earth, under the earth. And so that you do not lift up your eyes toward the heavens and see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the heavenly hosts, and are drawn away and bow down and worship them. Adonai your God has allotted them to all of the peoples under all the heavens. But you, Adonai has taken, and he brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people for his own inheritance, as you are this day. Furthermore, Adonai was angry with me because of your words, and he swore that I would not cross over the Jordan to enter the good land that Adonai your God is giving you for an inheritance. For I must die in this land. I am not crossing over the Jordan, but you will cross over and take possession of that good land. Watch yourselves so that you do not forget the covenant of Adonai your God, which he cut with you, and make for yourselves a graven image in the form of anything that Adonai your God has forbidden you. For Adonai your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. When you father children and children's children have been in the land for a long time, and you act corruptly and make a graven image in the form of anything, and do evil in the sight of Adonai your God, provoking him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that you will certainly be carried off quickly from the land you are crossing over the Jordan to possess. You will not prolong your days on it, for you will certainly be destroyed. Adonai will scatter you among the peoples, and you will be left few in number among the nations where Adonai will drive you. There you will serve man-made gods of wood and stone, which do not see or hear or eat or smell. But from there you will seek Adonai your God, and you will find him, when you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you are in distress, and all these things have come upon you, in the latter days you will return to Adonai your God and listen to his voice. For Adonai your God is a merciful God. He will not abandon you nor destroy you or forget the covenant with your fathers that he swore to them. Indeed, ask now about the former days that were before you, from the day that Yah created man on the earth, and ask from one end of the sky to the other. Has there ever been such a great thing as this, or has anything like it been heard? Has a people ever heard the voice of God speaking from the midst of the fire, as you have heard and lived? Or has any God ever tried to come to take for himself a nation from within a nation? By trials, by signs and wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and an outstretched arm, and by great terrors, like all that Adonai your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. you were shown, so that you might know that Adonai is God. There is no other besides him. From the heavens he made you hear his voice to instruct you, and on earth he caused you to see his great fire. You heard his words from the midst of the fire, because he loved your fathers. He chose their descendants after them. Then he brought you out from Egypt with his presence by his great power, to drive out from before you nations greater and mightier than you, to bring you in to give you their land and for an inheritance, as it is this day. So you will know today and take to heart that Adonai, he is God in the heavens above and on earth below. There is no other. You must keep his statutes and his mitzvot, which I am commanding you today, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, so that you may prolong your days in the land that Adonai your God has given you for all time. Then Moses set apart 3 cities beyond the Jordan toward the east. There the manslayer might flee, who kills his neighbor unintentionally and did not hate him previously. He may flee to one of these cities and live. Bezer in the wilderness on the plateau for the Reubenites, Remot in the Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan in the Bashan for the Manassites. This is the Torah which Moses set before Bnei Israel. These are the testimonies and statutes and the ordinances which Moses spoke to Bnei Israel when they came out from Egypt, beyond the Jordan, in the valley opposite Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon, whom Moses and Bnei Israel struck down when they came out from Egypt. They took possession of his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan toward the east, from Ador, which is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, as far as Mount Zion, that is Hermon, and all of the Arabah beyond the Jordan eastward, as far as the sea of Arabah under the slopes of Pisgah.
Anybody? I think that it is so important that as we read these scriptures, first of all, we understand the history of Israel and all the confusion and all of the forces that are coming against Israel today. That it's not just Israel because Israel is right or wrong. You know, we know that there's as much sin in Israel as there is anywhere else today. True. You know, that Tel Aviv is boasted that it's the homosexual capital of the world. You know, so there's much there. But besides all of that, understand that Almighty Yahweh's covenant land is going to be his covenant land. Whenever the kingdom comes down, it's not new New York, it's not new Chicago, it's new Jerusalem. And it will be coming down to that holy city. And those who will not come to the Feast of Tabernacles at that time in Jerusalem, all the plagues of Egypt will come upon them. We need to understand that Yah's word is forever. And he has, through his word, this morning, the words that Moshe related to the children of Israel. He has related the importance of keeping his commandments and walking in honor of him and not paying homage to other deities. It said, have no carved image in front of you. Whenever we go into the traditional churches today, what do you see right up behind the pulpit? The cross. Where people go down and kneel to pray is before the cross. And people wear the cross and they say, well, we don't consider it, anything idolatrous or deity. Well, why do they take and kiss it whenever they think there's danger coming? Or why do they make that sign over their self, giving honor to the cross? They give honor to the cross. They worship that cross. And that's not something to be worshipped. We worship the sovereign who raised Yeshua from the tomb, from the grave. He raised him up, victorious. Why would we want to boast the implement of destruction? If I followed that, I would wear an image of a 32 around my neck because that's what my dad was killed with. I don't want to wear, I don't want to remember my dad by that symbol. I want to remember him as he walked and lived among me. I want to remember Yeshua for the victory that he won for you, for me, over sin, to give us victory over death. He was the first fruit of many. So why would we want to wear an image of torture when we have the victory of the resurrection before us? Why not celebrate his resurrection? Why not celebrate his victory?
Yes.
Well, I
That's
think
what
the
we
people
should
that
be
wear
shouting.
the cross, they don't know what the cross really stands for, except what they've been told. The cross is like,
Well, that's the problem because the Father said we were to have no image. Look at the picture they have up behind the baptistry. The picture is supposedly of Joshua. And if you look into Babylon, you'll see that that is not a picture of Joshua, but that is the image of Ashtaroth.
so would you go to a person that has a cross on their neck? Would
Yeah,
you
I'll
go
tell
up- Well, I meant, would you go up to them and say, do you really know what this represents?
Yes, I can do that. Yes, I have done that. And you know what you have on and what it means. And, to know that that cross was worn by the mystics hundreds of years before Yeshua was even born. The mystics wore that cross to ward off demons, evil spirits. That's not something that came when Yeshua came. That symbol was there, and men wore them around their neck to ward off evil spirits long before Yeshua was even born. It's an evil, idolatrous, pagan symbol, and we should have no part of it. Anybody? Go ahead.
So I just wanted to connect Jeremiah with a few of these verses here. Kind of like starting in verse 25, so chapter 4, 25, when it's talking about bringing forth children, growing old, and then doing corruptly. The verse 26 says that Yah will call the heavens and earth to witness against them in that day. And then 27 says, And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the nations where Yahuwah drives you. And there you shall serve mighty ones in the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But verse 29, but from there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall find him, and shall find, when you search for him with all your heart and with all of your being. In your distress, when all these words shall come upon you in the latter days, then you shall return to Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall obey his voice. And Jeremiah uses the exact verse from 29 when he's talking ahead, and he's talking about the captivity in Babel. So Jeremiah 29, starting in verse 10, he says, for thus says Yahweh, when 70 years are completed, at Babel I shall visit you and establish my good word toward you to bring you back to this place. So it's after they've done the corruption, after he has scattered them, which he says he'll do in Deuteronomy 4, then Jeremiah is saying, after that's happened and the 70 years have been completed at Babel, then he will bring you back to this place, talking about the land. For I know the plans I am planning for you, declares Yahweh, plans of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and an expectancy. Then you shall call on me, and I shall come, and pray to me, and I shall listen to you. And verse 13 says, and you shall seek me and shall find me when you search for me with all of your heart. And I shall be found by you, declares Yahweh, and I shall turn back your captivity and shall gather you from all the nations and from all the places where I have driven you, declares Yahweh, and I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you. So it's the same, not saying the same story, but he said it all the way back in the time that he's giving the Torah. He says, this is what I'm going to do. And Jeremiah knows the word, and he's receiving it from the Father and says, this is what he said. This is what he's going to do. But the hope in that is you have done corruptly, and there is consequence for it. But then it says it in Deuteronomy 4, and it says it in in Jeremiah 29, that when we search for him, when we seek for him, when we want him instead of the idols, instead of worshiping the other gods, when we have felt we've gone into repentance, when we have actually felt the sorrow for the sin that we've done, and we seek him instead, then we shall find him. And then he turns back that captivity. And that was talking about the physical captivity, but we can see that in our spiritual realm as well. I mean, that we were captive to sin when we are doing those things. When we are sinning, when we are worshiping other idols and gods, I mean, that makes us a captive. That makes us a slave to that. Right. Yet when we've had enough and we're finally repentant, and we call out to him, then he will return us from that captivity. So I think it's really neat, and just to see that actually hitting a fulfillment in Jeremiah, and then just knowing that, again, applying it to our spiritual selves as well.
I think it's important to notice when he talks about seeking him, it's with all your soul, your might, and strength. It's making him the priority of your life. The priority of your life. You're not living and working to have things, but you are seeking to please him. That you're seeking him with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your might. That he is the utmost thing of your life. That's where it's got to be. And somehow or another we have, as a generation, have got off of that with Christianity, that almost anything works. He accepts you. All you got to do is just go up and make a public profession and acknowledge that he exists and that he is your deity and that Yeshua is the Savior and that he paid for your sins and you're on your way. And that's what is traditionally taught today. Yes, they have some things in the church that we as a culture that are culturally taboos or that are culturally acceptable, that is not accepted and not encouraged, but it's the man-made traditions rather than the commandments of Yahweh. We need to understand that the Almighty Yahweh set down his laws, his principles, his rules, and he even set down how we would seek him, how we were to seek him, I mean. He set down that you are to seek me with all of your heart, your mind, and your soul. You are to make me your priority of your life. You're to mold your life around my word and around me, not try to mold me around you. And that's where we have a problem today, that we are trying to, it seems like much of the Christianity is trying to mold the Father into a shape that's acceptable to them, rather than them molding themselves into a condition that is acceptable to Yahweh. Anybody? Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to kind of play off of that, it's all prophecy, even from here, but it goes in layers and stages. So he did this to the Israelites in the Exodus, and like to point out in what is it? Sorry, in 20. But Yahweh has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Mitzrayim, to be his people, an inheritance. That inheritance is his inheritance.
Yes.
But he put them in that iron furnace to forge them. He put them in that distress. And then when they fell away and went into the Babylonian captivity, he put them in that stress to make more generations of his people. Then when Yeshua was here, they were under that distress from the Roman occupation. And he showed that it was a spiritual matter just as much as a physical matter. And now we're coming up on Revelations and end of days times. And that fire is coming.
Yes.
And it's come out of her, my people.
Yes. Most definitely. We have to understand that the Father talks about putting us in the furnace and bringing us out to purify us with pure gold. And that's how they do gold. They put it in the furnace to get rid of all the growth that's on top of it, and to purify it. And that's what stress does to us. That's what tribulations do. Tribulations work with patience. It gives us an understanding that what he said is going to come to pass. Irregardless what the world does, his word is going to stand forever. Anybody? All right, let's go on to chapter 5.
Moses called to all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and the ordinances that I am speaking to you, or speaking in your hearing today. Learn them and make sure to do them. Adonai our God cut a covenant with us in Horeb, not with our fathers as Adonai cut this covenant, but with us. All of us alive here today. Adonai spoke with you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. I was standing between Adonai and you at that time to tell you the word of Adonai, because you were afraid, because of the fire, and did not go up the mountain. He said, I am Adonai your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You shall not have other gods beside me. Do not make for yourselves a graven image, no image of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. Do not bow down to them or worship them, for I, Adonai your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, and on the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my mitzvah. You must not take the name of Adonai your God in vain, for Adonai will not leave unpunished anyone who takes his name in vain. Observe Yom Shabbat to keep it holy, as Adonai your God commanded you. 6 days you are to labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Shabbat to Adonai your God. In it you are not to do any work. Not you, or your son, or your daughter, or your slave, or your maid, or your ox, your donkey, or any of your livestock, or the outsider within your gates, so that your slave and your maid may rest as you do. You must remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Adonai your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore Adonai your God commanded you to keep Yom Shabbat. Honor your father and your mother, just as Adonai your God commanded you, so that your days may be long and it may go well with you in the land Adonai your God is giving you. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's wife or desire your neighbor's house, his field, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These words Adonai spoke to all your assembly on the mountain from the midst of the fire, the cloud and the fog, with a great voice. He added no more. He wrote them on the tablets of stone and gave them to me. As soon as you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was blazing with fire, you came near me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders. Then you said, Adonai your God has just shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. This day we have seen that God speaks with man, and yet he keeps on living. Now then, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Adonai our God any more, then we will die. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived? You go near and hear all that Yah, or Adonai our God, says. Then you tell us all what Adonai our God tells you, and we will hear it and do it. Adonai heard the tone of your words when you spoke to me, and Adonai said to me, I have heard all the tone of your words that this people has spoken to you. They have done well in all they have spoken. If only there were such a heart in them to fear me and keep all my mitzvot always, so that it might go well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, return to your tents. But as for you, stand here by me, and I will tell you the whole commandment, both the statutes and the ordinances that you are to teach them, and they will do them in the land I am giving them to possess. So you must take care to do as Adonai your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside to the right or to the left. You are to walk in all the way that Adonai your God has commanded you, so that you may live and it may be well with you and may prolong your days in the land that you will possess.
Anybody? Go ahead.
I was just noticing that, just lately, that when we see the commandments on a wall somewhere, maybe it's a decorative art or, and it does look like the tablets, that they water them down. They say keep the Sabbath, and they don't say keep the seventh day, and the other thing is that the Catholic Church, they took out don't make any graven image. They took that one out, and then they made the last two commandments into two things. And so we really, truly have to guard the commandments because they are being even watered down when they're put on a wall, a decorative thing.
And there were the taking away graven images by the Roman Catholic Church. That was an intentional thing to intentionally ignore the commandments of Yahweh. And we need to understand that when Christianity today ignores the commandments of Almighty Yahweh, that they are putting themselves in a position, and that position is very, very serious. The 10th verse of the 5th chapter here, but showing loving commitment to thousands of those who love me and guard my commandments. So many times in the Word, when it talks about loving Yah, it goes with keeping His commandments. That is how He defines love for Him. It's not an emotion. It is a commitment. That's just like loving your spouse. That's not an emotion. That's a commitment. You are committed to them. Certainly there's emotions involved, but that is not the main thing. The main thing is your commitment to that spouse. And that's what the Father's saying, is that when you say love, I love Yahweh, you are saying that I walk in His commandments. I'm trying to keep His commandments. Otherwise, you're not loving Him.
Exactly.
Anybody? Go ahead.
I just had it. The thousands, it says in 10, but showing loving commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. I'm reading through the scriptures. I'm amazed how it doesn't say to the millions or to the hundreds of thousands. It always only says to the thousands, which to me, I looked that word up and it means 1,001 to 999,000. So there's not even a million included in that statement. At least what I understand.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that number is exactly what he meant there. But what he means is that he's giving loving commitment to thousands, or to all those that obey His commandments and love Him and guard His commandments. And I think that it's so important here that he puts together loving Him and keeping His commandments. And it's not only here, but it's many places in the Word where he talks about loving Him by keeping His commandments and His statutes. And that's what most of the traditional Christianity today omits. They say that we're no longer under the law. His commands have been done away with. It's just like in the 10 Commandments where it says, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Remember the seventh day and keep it holy.
Yes, yes.
So there leaves a question there about Sabbath day, leaves a question because everything that set apart for the Father is the Sabbath. You know, he talks about his appointed times as the Sabbath. But the seventh day is what he has set apart and is kadosh.
Yes.
And because they have blurred the vision there,
Yes. They did.
any day is all right. I've heard people say that any day is okay. We have to set aside the day to worship him. Any day is okay. No, any day is not okay. He said what day that we were to come together as a congregation and give honor and glory and praise to him. Anybody? Okay, let's go on to 5. Or 6, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the Sabbath is also for your body, spiritually and for your body, to rest.
Right.
He commands us to rest on the Sabbath day.
That,
Just, you know, our body needs that.
we have to have that rest. It's very important for us to rest our body. It's so important that the Father rested, so it must be important for us to rest, right? Anybody? Go ahead.
I read this and I want to make sure I got that right. When you made your comment, did you say generations, 1,000 generations, or did you just say 1,000 people? Thousands of people. Okay. And the way mine was reading, I just wanted to make sure I clarified that it said, I've got verse 10 of chapter 5, but showing loving kindness to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my mitzvah.
No, it doesn't say that at all. It says, but showing loving commitment to thousands who serve those who love me and guard my command. That's it.
I don't think I've ever heard generation put there.
This one's the Tree of Life version. I just wanted to point it out. So I'm sure.
Anybody?
And also on the Sabbath, to not do your own pleasure. In Isaiah it says that, and also the last chapter of Nehemiah. Have it on my fridge because no buying or selling. And it's real easy to remember the last chapter of Nehemiah. Or Yahweh brought all this evil on them. They were like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Don't do that. Yahweh brought all this evil on us because of that."
Anybody?
So I just wanted to clarify on that. Generations is not in the Hebrew in either one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not to the third and fourth or to the 1,000.
Okay, that's
So-
interesting. It's not Hebrew.
Generations is added. It's not in either of it. So
Anybody? You have something, Nate?
Plan on reading?
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Chapter 6, verse 1. And this is the command, the laws, and the right rulings which Yahuwah, your Elohim, has commanded to teach you to do in the land of which you're passing over to possess. So that you fear Yahuwah, your Elohim, to guard all his ways and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days be prolonged. And you shall hear, O Israel, and shall guard to do, that it might be well with you, and that you increase greatly as Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers has spoken to you, in a land flowing with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I commanded you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and speak
them and speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. Verse 8, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be, when Yahuwah your Elohim brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of goods which you did not fill, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards, and trees which you did not plant, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard, lest you forget Yahuwah, who brought you out the land of Mitzrayim from the house of bondage. Fear Israel your Elohim, and serve him. Fear Yahuwah your Elohim, and serve him, and swear by his name. Do not go after other mighty ones, the mighty ones of the peoples who are all around you. For Yahuwah your Elohim is a jealous Yah in your midst. Lest the displeasure of Yahuwah your Elohim burn against you, then he shall destroy you from the face of the earth. Verse 16, do not try Yahuwah your Elohim as you tried him in Massah. Diligently guard the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim and his witnesses and his laws which he commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the eyes of Yahuwah, that it might be well with you. And you shall go and possess the good land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers, to drive out all your enemies from before you, as Yahuwah has spoken. When your son asks you in the time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the witnesses and the laws and the right rulings which Yahuwah our Elohim has commanded you? Verse 21, then you shall say to your son, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Mitzrayim, and Yahuwah brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand. And Yahuwah sent signs and wonders, great and grievous, upon Mitzrayim, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from there to bring us in, to give us the land of which he swore to our fathers. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahuwah our Elohim, for our good always, to keep us alive, as it is today. It is righteousness for us when we guard to do all his commands before Yahuwah our Elohim, as he has commanded us.
Go on and read 7:11.
Go on, read 7:11. 7:11.
Yeah.
Okay. When Yahuwah your Elohim brings you into the land which you go to possess, he shall also clear away many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites, the Amorites and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when Yahuwah your Elohim gives you them over to you, you shall strike them and put them under the ban completely. Make no covenant with them and show them no favor. And do not intermarry with them, and do not give your daughter to his son, and you do not take his daughter for your son. For he turned your sons away from following me, to serve other mighty ones. Then the displeasure of Yahuwah shall burn against you and promptly destroy you. Verse 5, but this is what you do to them. Break down their slaughter places and smash their pillars. Cut down their Asherim and burn their carved images with fire. For you are a set-apart people to Yahuwah your Elohim. Your Elohim has chosen you to be a people of himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples on the face of the earth. Verse 7, Yahuwah did not set his love on you, nor chose you because you were more numerous than any of the other people, for you were the least of all peoples. But because of Yahuwah loving you, and because of him guarding the oath that he swore to your fathers, Yahuwah has brought you out with a strong hand and ransomed you from the house of bondage. from the hand of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim. And you shall know that Yahuwah your Elohim, he is Elohim, the trustworthy Yahuwah, guarding the covenant and loving commitment for 1,000 generations with those who love him and those who guard his commands. Verses 10 and 11. But repaying those who hate him to their face to destroy them, he does not delay to do so with him who hates him. He repays him to his face. And you shall guard the command, the laws, and the right rulings, which I command you today to do them.
Anybody? Go ahead.
The verse, is that on? Okay. It's on.
Blinking because it's muted.
For he turns, it says in verse 3, and do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughter to his son, and you do not take your daughter for your son. For he turns your sons away from following me to serve other mighty ones, and the displeasure of Yahweh shall burn against you and promptly destroy you. And also in Nehemiah, the last chapter, it talks about Solomon, and it talks about how, I'm going to read 2 verses from that. It's from that. Then I contended with them and cursed them and struck some of them and pulled them out their hair and made them swear by the Almighty, saying, you do not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. Did not Solomon, sovereign of Israel, sin because of them? Among the many nations there was no sovereign like him, who was beloved of his Almighty Sovereign, and the Almighty Sovereign made him king over all Israel. Even foreign women caused to sin.
Because that was obvious transgression of Solomon when he intermarried with them. He was told not to do that. That was a violation of the commandment there that the father had given him, that they weren't to marry with the heathen, and obviously you see what it did to Solomon. He brought the pagan idols into the temple area, of the deities, which was an abomination to the father. I don't understand how at that time a person could think that it was not important to keep those things away from the children of Israel. I can't understand why he would think it would be all right to bring those things in. I mean, to me, that's just a good example of how sin and lust for things can blind you. And obviously, it was his lust for the approval of his wife that he brought those things in, and that really affected his judgment. And I'm not saying that we aren't supposed to be loving to our mates. We are, but we are not to let the love of our mate exceed the love of our sovereign, and to obey him. And all through the word, it speaks of obedience as love to him. And so we need to know that you can't love Almighty Yahweh and not obey him. You can't do it. No matter what you tell yourself. We talked about last night deceiving yourself. That people deceive themselves and think they're all right when they're just doing exactly the opposite of what the Father wants them to do. And that's exactly what Solomon was doing. Doing right the opposite of what the Father commanded him to do. And as we read these things today, and as we read the scriptures that we've read today, we can see how important it is not to have idealistic symbols in our presence, in our home, in our congregation. It's important that we keep ourselves clean and pure. Anybody? All right. Let's go to Isaiah 40.
Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40. Isaiah 41. Comfort, comfort my people, says your Almighty. Speak to the heart of Jerusalem and cry out to her that her hard service is completed, that her crookedness is pardoned, that she has received from the hand of Yahweh double for all her sins. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make straight in the desert a highway for our Almighty Sovereign. Let every valley be raised, and every mountain and hill made low. And the steep ground shall become level, and the rough places smooth. And the esteem of Yahweh shall be revealed, and all flesh together shall see it. For the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. The voice said, cry out. And he said, what do I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its loving commitment is like the flower of the field. Verse 7. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the ruach of Yahweh has blown on it. Truly the people is grass. Grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, but the word of our Almighty Sovereign stands forever. You who bring good news to Zion, get up into the high mountain. You who bring good news to Jerusalem, lift up your voice with strength. Lift it up. Do not be afraid. Say to the cities of Yehuda, see your Almighty Sovereign. See, the Master Yahweh comes with strength, and his arm rules for him. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. He feeds his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs with his arm and carries them in his bosom, gently leading those who are with young. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and measured the heavens with a span, and contained the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who has meted out the ruach of Yahweh, or as his counselor taught him? With whom did he take counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of right ruling? Who taught him knowledge, and showed him the way of understanding? See, nations are as a drop in a bucket, and are reckoned as dust on the balance. See, he lifts up isles as fine dust. And Lebanon is not enough to burn, nor its beasts enough for an ascending offering. All nations before him are as non-entity, and they are reckoned by him as less than a speck and emptiness. And to whom would you liken the Almighty Sovereign, and what likeness would you compare to him? The workman molds a graven image, and the goldsmith overspreads it with gold, and the silversmith casts silver chains. He who is too poor for such an offering chooses a tree that does not rot. He seeks for himself a skilled craftsman to prepare a carved image that does not totter. Did you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been declared to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in, who brings princes to naught, shall make the rulers of the earth as emptiness. Hardly have they been planted, hardly have they been sown, hardly has their stalk taken root in the earth, when he shall blow on them and they wither, and a whirlwind take them away like stubble. And to whom do you liken me, or to whom am I compared, says the set-apart one? Lift up your eyes on high and see, who has created these? He is bringing out their host by number. He calls them all by name, by the greatness of ability and potent of power. A man is not lacking. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is concealed from Yahweh, and my rights are overlooked by my Almighty Sovereign. Did you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting Almighty Sovereign Yahweh, the Creator of all the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to those who have no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall stumble and fall. But those who wait on Yahweh renew their strength. They raise up like wings of the wing like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
that's our promise. That's our hope. That's our strength. The whole reading from the message today is obedience and walking in obedience to Him and honor of Him. He is your sovereign. He is your king. Can you imagine in this time that we're talking about here, going before a king, and when he said, "You disobeyed my command," he said, "Oh well, no way in the world. You didn't even go before the king without permission, without him giving you permission to come before him at the risk of your life. If you went before him without him inviting you in, the only thing that saved your life was him lowering the scepter to you. If he didn't lower the scepter to you, you was under death sentence. That's why Ruth was so afraid to go before the king. You know, hey, Esther, I'm sorry. Esther was so afraid to go before the king because she knew that if he didn't lower the scepter to her, that she would be under a sentence of death.
Wow.
So we need to know that it is no small thing that Yeshua gave us the right to come before the King of all kings, Almighty Yahweh, without the fear of death. When he says we can boldly go before him, that doesn't mean that we can go before him with pride and arrogance and I'm going to do it my way. No, it means that we can go before him without the fear of death. Before Yeshua came, there was only one person that could come into the Kadosh. That was the high priest. And he could only come in once a year. Today, we have the privilege and open invitation to come before the King of Kings, Almighty Yahweh, our sovereign, Melech HaOlam, King of the universe. We have an open invitation to come before him, to lay our petitions before him, to give praise, honor, and worship to him. We have that ability to go before him without the fear of him striking us dead. And I confess to the Father continually that he holds my breath and the number of my days in his hand. And he does, each one of us. Each and every one of us. He holds your breath and the number of your days in his hand. If he says it's over for you, it's over. And we need to know that he holds our breath and the number of our days in his hand. Give honor, glory, and worship to him. How do we honor him? By walking in covenant with him, keeping his commandments, loving him with all of our heart, our soul, and our mind. Anybody?
Yeah, some of us has already went the max already.
Nah, he's not done with you.
Oh, you get so old that it's counting time.
Counting time.
Anybody?
Charlene, he's not done with you.
That's right. I agree with that.
I'll run another day here.
All right, let's go to Matthew 23:31.
Who's reading?
I will.
I've got it.
Go ahead.
Matthew 23, beginning 31. Thus you bear witness against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the Nevi'im, and you fill up the measure of your fathers. Serpents, brood of adders, how would you escape the judgment of Gehenna? Because of this, see, I send you Nevi'im and wise men and scholars. Some of them you shall kill and impale, and some of them you shall flog in your congregations and persecute from city to city, so that on you should come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of righteous Hebel to the son of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the Mishkan and the altar. Truly I say to you, all this shall come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, killing the Nevi'im and stoning those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you would not. See, your house is left to you laid waste. For I say to you, from now on you shall by no means see me until you say, Baruch is he who is coming in the name of Yahweh.
Oh, hallelujah. Anybody? I believe that's just kind of the way that things are going today. We don't see the executing or the flaws, but we do see the rejection of the church, the traditional church. Very well rejects the message that we are bringing forth today. It finds fault with it because they say we're trying to get there by our own righteousness, which is so phony because we're walking in the covenant that the Father said walk in. You know, and we're not trying to do that without Yeshua. We know that we can't do it perfectly enough to get there. And we have to have the blood of Yeshua and the Ruach HaKodesh to get us there. You know, but we find that the way that we are speaking, the way that the Father has brought forth in His commandments, we find it being persecuted. As it has been all through the century. It didn't just start this thing. You know, it's been going on all through the centuries. Anybody? All right, let's go to Mark 12:28.
Mark 12:28. One of the Torah scholars came and heard them debating. Seeing that Yeshua had answered them well, he asked him, which commandment is first of all? Yeshua answered, the first is Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Well said, teacher, the Torah scholar said to him. You have spoken the truth, that he is Echad, and besides him there is no other. And to love him with all your heart, with all your understanding, and with all your strength, and to love the neighbor as oneself is much more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. When Yeshua saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, you are not far from the kingdom of God. and no one dared any longer to question him.
Anybody? I think it's so important for us to understand what it said here. That we are to love Almighty Yahweh with all of our heart and our mind and our soul.
Yes.
And to love one another even as we love ourselves.
Yes.
That we are to be in loving kindness to one another. And I find that is the one thing that is so prevalent in the churches today. If you don't agree with them in their doctrine, they want to shun you. That is not the way the Father intended for us to be. We are to love Him with all of our heart, our soul, and our mind, and we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're not to treat him any way that we would not want to be treated. That's pretty tough order, isn't it? That's one that many have a problem with. We want to pick and choose who and what we do in response to them. And it should not be that way, precious saints. We should walk according to the word of Yahweh and treat each one as Almighty Yahweh has commanded us to treat one.
True.
Now, obviously, there is a reason not to associate with someone if they are one who denies Yah, and you brought the word to them and they just reject it and still reject going on to it, then says don't have no fellowship with me. If they're walking disorderly and contrary to the word of Yahweh, don't have no fellowship with them. Not even to eat with them. It's pretty strong, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody? All right, let's go to the Father. Father Yahweh, we come to you today. First of all, I thank you for your Shabbat.
Yes.
Father, I thank you for all the teaching, the instruction, the correction, and the direction that you've given to us.
Mm-hmm.
You are so faithful, so loving, and so kind. Your mercy endures forever. So, Father, I ask that you would bless us this day and keep us, that you would make your face to shine upon us and be gracious to us. Lift up your countenance upon us and give us your shalom. And so shall we adorn the name of Almighty Yahweh. And we say, Baruch atah of Yahweh, Melech ha'olam. Baruch atah of Yahweh, Melech ha'olam. Blessed be Father Yahweh, King of all the universe. Blessed be your Kadosh name. Father, as we come before you this day, and as we sit down at the table you have prepared before us, with all the provisions that you have given us, Father, we thank you for your generosity, your mercy, your compassion. And we thank you for all the goodness that you have supplied to us. Father, we thank you for the food that you have placed upon our table, for we know it was provided by you. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we thank you for all that you are, all that you are done, and all that you are doing. Father, we thank you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and in that name we do call it done. Thank you, Father. Hallelujah. Be blessed.